A little while ago, I posted asking for your guys' theories about Arc 9, and you certainly provided. Obviously, this video is going to have Arc 9 spoilers, so if you're not caught up to Arc 9 Phase 4, stop watching. This video is going to be entirely unscripted, so any flubs or errors, I apologize for that. I have 12 theories, 2 of them are my own, okay, I'll be honest, I'll admit it. But let's just get started, okay? So the first theory, and this is the most predominant theory that we have, is the Great Reset theory. Now, I'm just gonna say, okay, I was talking about Great Reset theory before Arc 9. This shit, it got colonized, bro. Great Reset, I used to talk about it with regards to how ReZero's been done before, but now everyone says Great Reset when talking about Arc 9 resetting. Arc 9 resetting is probably one of, if not the worst ReZero theory that has ever been created. The scariest part is that it's not even impossible. Every time something devastating happens, I'm like, oh god, it just got like 5% more likely that we might actually reset all this. I don't know how to describe just how bad this is. Any sense of stakes that the series had instantly destroyed. All of this character progression instantly destroyed. Arc 9 just becomes a stupid, glorified fan service arc where they get to lore dump and have cool, hype fan service moments, and that's it. Which is depressing, because I think Arc 9 is really, really good. And I was talking about this back during Arc 7 Phase 6, which is the unfortunate part. With the reset of Phase 6, I was worried that it set a precedent. I was worried that that precedent would bleed into other parts of the story where things would happen and then they would just get automatically undone because, fuck you. But then, you know, the end of Arc 8 happened, Priscilla died, and I was like, oh, okay, maybe I don't have anything to worry about. Great Reset happening would not only, unfortunately, validate my thoughts about Arc 7 Phase 6, it would make it impossible to take the series seriously ever again, which is depressing. And I reiterate, it's not impossible. I really hope it doesn't happen. I think it's a terrible theory. I think ReZero becomes a nothing ever happens series if that happens. We're gonna go ahead and we're gonna slam that right into the S tier, right? Or not the S tier. We're gonna slam that right into the F tier. There we go. The second theory we have is Heinkel Pride. Now, if you're not familiar, this is I would say a relatively recent theory. I don't know if people were talking about it in the community before. People were talking about it, at least in my Discord, somewhat recently, kind of around the start of Arc 9, end of Arc 8. It's basically that Heinkel holds Pride. Now, I used to see the vision for this, because think about it this way. During the events of Battle Ballad, or EX6, Stride Valakia had Pride, Teresia was pregnant with Heinkel, Stride died, and the Authority just sort of vanished for 40 years. People used it to say, hey, maybe that's how he put Luana to sleep, maybe it was like a Stride curse. I think it's safe to say, though, at this point, I don't think that's accurate. First of all, you have instances of Aldebaran wondering, oh my god, is Pride here? So unless he just somehow doesn't know that Heinkel has Pride, not even Al knows where Pride is, and he knows a lot of things that he shouldn't know. And we also learn that this durability of his comes later in life. And also, Authority is kind of manifest in a very similar way between people. There's always differences. There are one or two instances, I think, where the Authority is totally different, but we don't see Heinkel with rings, because for some reason, that's how Pride is for Stride. I don't know why, but that's what it is. I don't think Heinkel has Pride. I did see the vision for it, and I wouldn't hate it even if it did happen. Let's put it in B. Now, the next theory is a Volcanica Death, and I'll be honest, yeah, I don't know how Volcanica makes it out of this arc alive. Or at least not, you know, I don't know how he makes it out not permanently altered. Volcanica is cooked. He's got the mind of Aldebaran in him. Unless this is Tapei's way of being able to kill Al, but like keep Al around at the same time, you know, have his cake and eat it too. Volcanica is cooked. Maybe gluttony, I don't know. I will say, Clind being his dragonkin and for some reason not occupying his husk leads me to believe that maybe Clind as compensation for his authority at some point, or maybe compensation for the authority to use the authority to begin with, was giving up his ability to occupy the dragon husk of Volcanica. Because if Clind can't even occupy Volcanica, Volcanica's not going to do anything. He's brain dead. He's got a man inside of him. But I can also see Volcanica Death doing a good amount for some characters. Krush has been on a downward spiral for 700 years. Maybe that would be good for her. Roswell would certainly love to see Volcanica die for some reason. And I think knowing that Arc 10 is a Royal Capital arc, I think the death of Volcanica could be a really interesting way to segue into that. I definitely see a vision for this. If it didn't happen, well, I'd be interested to see what Tape has up the sleeve for it, because, I don't know, to me Volcanica seems cooked. I'm going to put it in A. The next theory we have is Al not the main antagonist. Technically, there were a lot of like sub-theories that I kind of rolled up into one here. People talking about Capella or Pandora or Omega. My issue with this theory is that Arc 9 is supposed to be Aldebaran's arc. And to have him be usurped by a character that, in my opinion, all of those options have way less connection, way less interest to like our entire cast that is currently involved, like the Aldebusters and stuff like that. So, I like Capella. I wouldn't be upset if Capella rolled up. I would rather she gets her own moment, rather than being crammed into the Aldebaran arc. If Pandora comes, who cares? If Omega comes, who cares? And we also just did the hiding the real antagonist thing with Arc 7. You know, it was the backdrop of a civil war, but in reality, here comes Sphinx with her undead. Like I mentioned earlier, this arc is a lot about personal connections and feelings, so introducing a brand new antag to usurp Aldebaran, in my opinion, would just be boring. If we use it as a segue to Arc 10, maybe that's alright. But I'm gonna put it in D for now. I don't see a vision. Just let Aldebaran have his moment, alright? Now this one might be, in my mind, the most complicated theory for me to evaluate. Reinhard kills Petra. I really don't know where to get started with this one. I've seen the evidence for it. People have been talking about it in my Discord. Someone posted an exceptionally long comment that talks about it. I get it. I get it. Those future trial lines, they're talking about a kid in a negative context, I understand. I do think in a series like ReZero, which is supposed to be such a hopeful series, it's exceptionally dark. Not to say it's impossible by any means. It's dark to have Reinhard come in and kill Petra. How else does Petra get out of the situation? I don't know. Is it possible she gets out of the situation in another way? I think so. Obviously, Tape can do whatever he wants. He's the god of the universe. Let's hope it's not Great Reset. I'm not fundamentally against this. I don't think I have a strong opinion yet, because I feel like I don't see the path that gets us to Reinhard not being involved in the Witch of Envy fight, coming over to Petra, who is now like the Witch of Tristitia, and then, I don't know, chopping her head off. I don't see the pathway there. I don't want to say it's impossible, though. And it opens up a lot of intrigue for a character like Reinhard to come murder a child. Maybe there could be something interesting there. I do think, though, that it is fair to interpret it as the future lines of Petra come from the future, so she's probably not gonna get murdered here. I think that'd be a fair interpretation. I guess with this convo with Subaru and Reinhard from the future trial, I just don't know who else it will be about. Subaru calling Reinhard a hero, and that's all he can ever be, saying that it was just a kid. The only other options I can think of, like Spica, and I mean, that's not gonna move anyone, right? Who cares about Spica getting killed? What's he gonna... Reinhard gonna kill Melee? Gonna kill Garf? Like, I don't know. I don't know who else it could be about. I just currently don't know how we get there. I don't hate the theory. I don't even dislike it. I'm gonna put it in B until further notice. Here we have the absolute behemoth, Al equals Subaru. I'm obviously not going to talk about this for 25 minutes. I think if you've watched this channel, you already know my thoughts about it. I think I've made them pretty clear. If we think about Al equals Subaru as in Al is a version of Subaru from the future, I think even most Al equals Subaru posters these days don't believe this is the case anymore. And the ones that still do love to rush to my comment section to talk about that stupid fucking illustration. Now, let's talk about that stupid fucking illustration, because I don't think I've talked about it in a video. This is a nothing burger. You see Echidna refer to someone as Aldebaran, the illustration has clearly not Aldebaran, clearly Subaru. You have to keep in mind that this is not the real world. This is a dream world. The same dream world where Echidna does not appear how she actually looked in her tomb. You have to keep in mind that this is the dream world where you appear in which, I believe it's the way you want to present or the way you want to be perceived or something, I don't remember the exact specifics. You don't appear in this dream world the way you actually appear, if you want to appear that way, of course. And I feel like the elephant in the room here is, yeah, that's Subaru's tracksuit, of course. Why cover his face then? I would say Subaru's tracksuit is more iconic and more recognizable than his face. So there would be no reason to cover his face unless something doesn't add up. You know what I mean? In the same way that Echidna's face didn't look the exact same, clearly there is more than meets the eye here, and it's very funny how many people took this as explicit confirmation. With regards to Al being a Subaru clone, I also think that there is nothing that indicates this. I've spoken about this in my No Al doesn't equal Subaru video, but there are a lot of specifics about clones that Al just doesn't really meet. My current Al equals Subaru, or not Al, my current Al doesn't equal Subaru theory is Aldebaran was clearly being groomed to become someone he's not. There are many explicit mentions of Al wearing a mask of someone he's not. Obviously that person is Subaru, and he failed to live up to that, which is included in the repeated failures that Aldebaran always talks about. I think Al equals Subaru is an awful theory that does nothing for any character and is just boring fan service bait. Maybe it might be better than Great Reset though. God, it's so fucking bad. Our next theory is my own because I had to fill out the theory list. Subaru saves Al. I actually made a whole video about this. And obviously it's my theory, so it's goated. Subaru loves to reach out to people. He loves to save people. I mean, Spica. If Spica can be saved, surely Aldebaran can. Why would Al be an exception? Subaru wanted to reach out to people like Todd, he wanted to reach out to people like Vincent, and Al clearly regrets his actions. He thinks about how more and more he's unable to save himself, because he's probably going to need a helping hand. He's going to have to convince Al probably that he can be saved, that it's not over yet. But I do think that Subaru will be saving Aldebaran. I have to admit, every horrific action that takes place in Arc 9 makes this a little bit harder. I'm still holding firm, but let's put it this way, if Petra does have to be killed by the end of this arc, Al living is not happening, okay? Al living is cooked, but for now I'm going to put Subaru saves Al in S tier. It's my theory, it's goated. This is also my theory. Satella never loved Aldebaran. I don't think I've really talked about this in a video. I've talked about it in my Discord, I believe, and I think a little bit on Twitter. Don't think I've said it in video. Let's think to the side story, Sunlight on the Water, where you see an apparition of someone that you most want to see, or whatever it was, I don't remember exactly. Aldebaran sees Satella. And there's one distinct thing that I noticed when I first read that side story. Satella never once said her iconic line, "I love you." She never said it the billion times that she always says it. And this planted the idea in my head that maybe Satella never really fucked with this guy. Maybe never really a big fan of him. And I feel like this is kind of supported by the Phase 2 comment from Aldebaran that when Satella starts rampaging in the Agria Sand Dunes, Al is like, it's fine, she always ignores me anyway. And I was like, huh, that's interesting. And it led me to this particular theory, which plays into my Al doesn't equal Subaru theory that I do want to compile into its own video one day. Echidna groomed Aldebaran to become Aldebaran. However, just like we saw in Arc 7 Phase 6, if Satella loses sight of Subaru, Return by Death does not work the same. So Satella's love is integral to the function of these authorities, and I do think that Subaru and Aldebaran have a very similar authority. They're both probably apostles of envy. Maybe there's too many assumptions, maybe there's jumping the gun, I don't know. But Aldebaran's authority doesn't work as efficiently as it could because Satella doesn't love him, so Echidna concocted a plan. Take over the Divine Dragon with the Book of the Dead, all Shamak Natsuki Subaru, which you can do because you can capture anyone with a witch factor, and throw him down the geyser so that Satella has nobody left besides Aldebaran. It's crazy psychotic shit. It's something that Echidna would probably do. Perhaps Echidna sees more potential in Aldebaran's authority than Natsuki Subaru's. Something about Aldebaran that Echidna would prefer rather than Subaru. And perhaps it's because Al believes that he can kill Satella rather than Subaru wanting to save her. That's my Satella never loved Aldebaran theory, though. It's my main thing that I'm going with right now, putting it in S tier because it's mine. Now, this is the first time I've seen this theory, reset failure. This is kind of like a fake out for a Great Reset, and where like it sets up the Great Reset, and then Subaru's like, "Ow, you gotta kill me so I can go back and stop you," and I was like, "Yes, sir," chops his head off or whatever, but the checkpoint's already updated to exactly where they are, and I'm like, that's cool. That's a cool way to like. That would be such a top A fucking troll to make people think he was going to do Great Reset, but he doesn't. I think it's really funny. I don't dislike it. I will say I do want Subaru to save Aldebaran with 0 deaths because I want it to parallel when Aldebaran bested Natsuki Subaru with 0 tries because he knew him through and through. I would love that so much. However, this theory means that Al turns to the good side, so it's a W. I like it. I would much rather this than Great Reset. Let's put it in A. Heinkel gains Sword Saint Divine Protection. I saw this theory for the first time in my comments. Personally, I'm not really a fan of these theories that give Heinkel, like, the heaven, or puts him on the path of the Heavenly Sword, or gives him the Sword Saint divine protection, because I feel like it's just not what he's about. Heinkel is a lot like Teresia in that he was born into a family about the sword, but it's regularly reinforced that he doesn't like his position. Teresia is a tragic story because she ends up becoming the sword. She becomes the Sword Saint, for God's sake. Kind of breaking the cycle of that is gonna have to be Heinkel, right? It wasn't Reinhard. Reinhard doesn't have anything but the sword, it seems. My knee-jerk reaction is that Heinkel's just like a guy who loves his family and his family is broken, and I don't really see how giving him all this crazy power would solve it. Unless, of course, Heinkel getting the divine protection sword of the Sword Saint is like some dramatic irony that like ruins his life more and adds more stress to him. In that case, I can see it, but things like that or Heavenly Sword, I don't really like as like a conclusion for him. I don't think it's necessary. I'll put it in C. I'll let it cook. The penultimate theory, Orb. Technically also my theory, but I think people might have spoken about it before me. I don't know. The theory was, inside the orb, Satella can't hear, and Subaru would be able to tell Betty about Return by Death. I think as more time goes, this is getting less and less likely. It's kind of hanging onto the thin thread that Roy gave in Phase 3? About how he was conscious inside of his seal. But I think as time goes, and especially now that we've seen from Felt's perspective what it was like to be in an orb, kind of like nothing happens, I think it might be donezo, unfortunately. I thought Subaru telling Betty about Return by Death would be really interesting, but I don't know. I would really like for Satella to allow Subaru to tell someone about Return by Death. I think that would be a very, very good direction to go. It would fundamentally change the dynamic of Return by Death, right? Subaru's character has been about shouldering everything for so long, and over the course of the series, he slowly lessens the burden on himself, and right now, the last thing he shoulders is Return by Death because Satella makes him. He has no choice. Now, maybe the solution is simple and it's Petra now, but I think Betty, of all people, deserves to be in the know. And we've seen since Arc 6, actually since Arc 5, Tape is continually tuning and playing around with the formula and the dynamic of Return by Death, you know? Arc 5, he only uses it 3 times, which was unprecedented. Arc 6, we see how Return by Death would affect Arc 1, Natsuki Subaru again, and all that stuff. Arc 7, we see Return by Death slowly break. In Arc 8, we see Return by Death get off-screen for the first time. In Arc 9, we have no Return by Death. So I think going forward, an interesting way would be to have someone in the know. I don't know if Petra's keeping this knowledge about Return by Death. I don't know if Petra is keeping her head, but I think Subaru convincing Satella, like, dude, come on, let me talk about it, please. It's times are so tough. I think it would be good. I think it would be good for Subaru. I think it would be good for Betty, assuming that she was the one character that found out about it. I think it would be good for the story. I think it would be good for the themes. I guess I kind of went on a tangent. It's not really about the orb, but orb theory might be dead. I'm putting it in B for now. The final theory, return to Japan. Now, if you are not familiar, this theory talks about how Aldebaran throwing the orb down the geyser connects, the geyser somehow connects the ReZero world in Japan. How does that work? I don't know. But that's the theory, and I think it's cool. Like, I think the idea of going back to Japan, it's a cool fan service, but I have to ask, what does it do, right? Does it do anything for Subaru's character? No, because I feel like this already happened in Arc 4 with Parent and Child. Does it do anything for Betty, because she's in the orb too? Maybe enable the orb talk since they're in Japan, but that's all. It's not really anything besides the fan fiction thing of like, oh my god, what if these ReZero characters had to experience Japan? I don't think it does anything besides give cool fan fiction, fan service. Not that there's anything wrong with that, I think it would be cool. But I don't think in ReZero there is any story left to tell in Japan. I think it's over. I don't know if I don't think we're ever going back, is what I'm gonna say. I'd put it in C because I don't hate it or anything. I don't see the purpose as of now. But that's me ranking these 12 Arc 9 theories, I guess technically Arc 9 and more. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. If you want more videos like this, definitely let me know. Thanks for watching. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, make sure you subscribe for more. You can also check the description down below to become a member, which gives you benefits like early videos, membership badges, and cool custom emotes. You can join the Discord where we talk about ReZero, Kagurabachi, Jujutsu Kaisen, and all kind of stuff. Additionally, you can go to the channel store and pick up some awesome stickers made by our channel artist, so you can carry the power of Graphia with you on your water bottle. That's about it though. Thank you for watching. See ya.